Alright, I am finally ready to reveal a brand new video format for my channel, the Casual Guide to the NFL Wildcard, where I break down every game on Wildcard weekend and let you know what to expect in my predictions for each of them for a fan of any expertise, but especially for casuals going in relatively blind. I am so excited for a lot of these games, and let's just hop right into it. We start with the very first game on a Saturday afternoon with the number 5 Los Angeles Rams visiting the number 4 Carolina Panthers. These teams faced off not too long ago in the regular season, where the Panthers pulled off a close upset in the same environment. The Panthers are an intriguing team because on one hand they are only 8-9, won their division despite losing the last divisional matchup versus the Buccaneers, and have had some nasty losses, especially at the hand of that lacking front seven on the defense. On the other hand, they have pulled off some great wins against other teams like the Packers and Cowboys, and have had some incredible offensive performances from Bryce Young and his weapons, especially Teteroa McMillan. Facing off against them is the Los Angeles Rams from that loaded NFC West division, having one of the best passing games in the league, the potential MVP in Matthew Stafford, and a top 5 head coach in the nation in Sean McVay. Despite being an incredible team, the Rams have had some inconsistent play, especially towards the later parts of the year with losses to the Seahawks, Falcons, and the aforementioned Panthers. Still, I think that the Rams will be even more prepared after an easier win versus the Arizona Cardinals to get the job done and beat the Panthers on both sides of the ball, winning 34-20. Then on Saturday night, we have an NFC North showdown featuring the number 7 Green Bay Packers going up against the number 2 Chicago Bears. This is going to be an insane game. The 2 times these teams have played each other, it came down to the final possession, with the most recent one ending with a miracle deep catch in the end zone to finish the game in overtime, making them win 22-16. This time, the Packers are the underdog, especially because of their injuries all across the board that have significantly hindered the team's production. Micah Parsons, Tucker Kraft, Matthew Golden, Edgerrin Cooper, and a lot more are all out of this game. However, the Packers have had their fair share of explosive offensive games, especially at the hands of Jordan Love. And if Jordan Love has a good game, as he often does in situations like this, especially since the divisional matchups are always up in the air, he could get a really good shot at winning this game. This matches up especially well with the Bears, as they have struggled a bit on their pass defense. But when it comes to the Bears, a lot of their flaws are made up for by their ability to clutch games, being 7-4 in one-score games, most of them being against top-level teams. That's why I have the Bears winning a close contest 27-23, but look out for the Packers because they can still pull it off. Then on a Sunday morning, we have the number 6 Buffalo Bills facing off the number 3 Jacksonville Jaguars. These two teams haven't faced off since last year, where the Bills steamrolled the Jaguars on their way to winning the AFC East 47-10 against the Jaguars at home. This scenario is much different, however, because the Bills lost their division and are having to go on the road to Jacksonville. This Bills team is a bit of an enigma. As a Bills fan myself, I have to admit that this team can be super inconsistent. Their run defense is a huge hole. They have had large portions of games where they can't get anything going, and then turn on the Jets and catch up before you can even blink. Just like how they did when visiting New England, where they came back from a 21-0 deficit to win 35-31, or where they got shut out for 3 quarters against the Eagles and then randomly made it super close, just barely losing 12-13 after a failed 2-point conversion. They have an incredible run game with Josh Allen and James Cook in the backfield, a top-tier passing defense, and an incredible clutch, but they can get too far back to be able to recover like they did against the Falcons way earlier in the season. And that is exactly why the Jaguars scare me in this matchup, because they have one of the best offenses in the league, being able to win through the air or on the ground, which is Buffalo's biggest weakness. However, the O-line has shown some difficulties against the pass rush, which can be a bit of a problem with Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa being solid contributors in that department. This is the closest matchup for the entire week, and I have no clue who's going to win this game. I do think that whoever will win will go on to win the entire AFC and go to the Super Bowl. but I just can't be confident for either of these teams to beat the other. I'm gonna make the prediction of a Jaguars win going 34-32, but expect this to come down to the wire. For the Sunday afternoon game, we have an interdivisional rivalry rematch between the number 6 San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. These teams have a long history, especially in the last few years, with the last game of theirs going to the 49ers 42-19 all the way back in 2023, which kicked off the Eagles' historic fall off from 10-1 to a first-round exit in the playoffs. The matchup before that was in the conference championship, where the Eagles injured their then rookie quarterback Brock Purdy to dominate them 31-7 and cheat them out of a bid to the Super Bowl that year. The only bright spot in that game was Christian McCaffrey, who has been balling out this season as well. He has been their all-purpose tool in the passing and running game, being a true Offensive Player of the Year contender. Brock Purdy has also had a good season, but the biggest problem for this team is the injuries, especially on defense. Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, their two best defensive players, have been out for a while, and it has shown its impact throughout the season. The Eagles, on the other hand, have not had as much of the issue. Their defense is incredible on all fronts, especially after getting Jalen Carter back from an injury that took him out for much of the first portion of the season. Their offense is a different story, though. Despite not having a ton of injuries, the offense has been pretty lackluster, with poor play calling from Kevin Patullo and a mid-season from Saquon Barkley overall. Plus, Jalen Hurts really hasn't been as explosive as he was last year. Even with that huge issue, Philly's defense allows them to take control of games against even the best teams, which is what I think they will be able to do against the 49ers, winning 19-14, shutting down the Niners' offense. And on Sunday night, we have an AFC matchup between the number 7 Los Angeles Chargers and the number 2 New England Patriots. These two teams haven't played since last year, when the Chargers were making a run to secure their spot in the playoffs, while the Patriots continued to rebuild with a bad head coach in Jerome Mayo, winning 40-7. But a lot has changed in the last year. The Chargers have been riddled with injuries, especially on their offensive line, with Rashawn Slater going out very early in the season, and their second-year lineman Joe Alt doing the same a bit later, both for the entire season. But Justin Herbert has been looking just as good as ever despite that, dissecting coverages and being an overall great leader from this battered team. Combine that with the rookie running back Omari and Hampton having an excellent year, and this offense has been looking fantastic. But the biggest issue still lies in the Chargers' history in the playoffs. They have been known to shut down in the wild card as soon as they get there, with their last couple of playoff appearances ending in a devastating comeback loss from the Jaguars and a decisive loss to the Texans last year, both on the road. They have to go on the road once again, only this time it's a significantly harder team in the New England Patriots, who are one of the most consistent teams in the entire league. They have another potential MVP in quarterback Drake May with veteran wide receiver Stephon Diggs. A huge criticism for the Patriots, however, is their historically easy schedule, having opponents that averaged under 400 in win percentage, despite having wins over teams like Buffalo and Pittsburgh. They have also had a bit of weakness in their run game, but it hasn't been a huge issue. Because of Los Angeles' history in the playoffs and New England's consistency, I don't really see a whole lot of ways that the Chargers can win this one. And I'm going to take the Patriots to get a decisive win, 34-22. And finally, on Monday night, we have our final matchup between the number 5 Houston Texans and the number 4 Pittsburgh Steelers. These teams have only played each other once in the last 3 seasons, and that was a Texans regular season win during CJ Stroud's rookie year, with the Texans winning 30-6. The Texans are the seeded underdogs, but they feel like anything but that. They have the best defense in the entire league, one of the best I've ever seen in my half-decade of watching the NFL. They've been able to stop teams like Josh Allen with the Bills, Mac Jones with the 49ers earlier in the season, and Matthew Stafford with the Rams. Their offense hasn't been as incredible. Their passing offense has been solid with Stroud, but the offensive line and running game just haven't been the best for them, as aside from Dameon Pierce, they have little to no running tools. They are being hosted by the Steelers, who barely got in after the Ravens choked away their shot at a playoff berth with a missed game-winning field goal. Their defensive line has been great, just as it always has been with T.J. Watt, but mostly every other part of their game has just been fine. They don't generate explosive plays, their run game doesn't have a lot of tools, and their pass defense has had their fair share of injuries, especially later into the season. It's just not going to cut it against this defense, and I don't see them having a good shot at this game. The only other thing that I think would do it for them would be if Aaron Rodgers went on a magic run and set the offense on fire. If that doesn't happen, I see the Texans winning 23-9. Now, I'm only going to do the analysis for the wildcard round of the playoffs, but I want to mark down my Super Bowl favorite ahead of time to see if my predictions will be correct, and I'll be able to look back. On the NFC side, I have the Bears winning against the Eagles in a close game, but I also have the Seahawks winning against the Rams. If you saw the last matchup between the Seahawks and Rams, you know that these teams are completely evenly matched. But I do favor the Seahawks for their rest and their home field advantage going into this game, so I'll take them here. In the AFC, I have the Texans actually pulling off the upset against the Broncos in a defensive slugfest. The Broncos have been near perfect in close games this season, but there is just something about this Texans defense that just needs a little bit of a stronger offense to get past. Between the Jags and the Patriots, I actually have the Jags pulling it off with their offense. They have looked a lot more impressive against tougher opponents this year, and I think it will be enough against the Patriots in the conference championship round. I have the Seahawks beating the Bears. With how close the Bears have been keeping it all season with all of their opponents, the Seahawks are just going to be too much to handle for them, and I see them really just bull rushing and dominating with their offense. Then we have an AFC South finale. This matchup has been incredibly fun to watch this season, and this time the offense that I think can break the Texans' defense this time around just enough to outdo their offense is Jacksonville, and they will go to their very first Super Bowl as a result. Finally, in the Super Bowl, the Seahawks and Jaguars will duke it out. Both teams have incredible offenses that will create some huge fireworks in this game. But the Seahawks defense is still one of the best in the league, and I think Jacksonville will unfortunately fall to their inexperience in the playoffs, and the Seahawks will become Lombardi champions once again. But with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if this is a good format that you would like to see in the future. I will be doing this for the rest of the playoffs, but I want to hear some feedback to make this the best it can be for future videos. If you enjoyed the video to this point, please leave a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, but for now, that'll be all, and I will see you later. Thanks, guys.